Hello, everyone. Your old friend Theta, the monotone messiah. This is going to be the final Q&A / analysis cast that I do with James, because in case anybody didn't know, immediately after this match, I left to form my own team. Now, for anybody that's curious, this is something that I told my teammates about ahead of time, and frankly, I could not have asked for a better exit game. If anyone is curious about this new team, it's called Tempo. I have a Discord, and I am actively recruiting. So whether you're a new player or an experienced player, you want to give it a shot, you're welcome to show up to tryouts. Holding them all this week and maybe even next week. We'll see. But anyway, I don't want to make this about me or my new team, because this is, again, the last time we're doing this format. And of course, I'm doing it with the one only JamesBowk of Mayhem.
Hey everyone, how's it going? It's going to be a sad one.
Yeah, it's a lot of emotions running through this, but again, truly could not have asked for a better last match. Just incredible. We're not going to give any spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched the match, but wow, what a nail biter. You guys thought it was exciting to watch. Imagine what it was like for us to play it. It was one of the most intense matches I've been in a very long time. Also, I want to point out, before we switch over to this, that the first 2 rounds were not casted. They had technical problems. So, unfortunately, the first 2 rounds on quarantine we're not going to be able to watch. And a couple other reminders. The way we structure this for anybody who hasn't watched before is after every map, we will do a very short Q&A. And then at the end of all 3 maps, we will do a concentrated Q&A. So if you want to have questions ready to go between maps, it's usually best to have them for the map itself, or like something specific you saw in that map, and then keep the more general questions to the last block, the Q&A, at the end of this. And I also want to say, just because of the circumstances tonight, by the way, I'll get my hands going. If anybody's curious about tempo or anything like that, let's keep the questions about that till the end. I really want to focus on this match and Mayhem versus Beginners. So if anybody's curious about that, we can talk about it, but let's just wait until the end. There's really no need to let that get in the way of a good review while we're doing it. So with that, I will switch over. Okay, so as you can see, Beginners versus Mayhem. We're on map 1, which is Quarantine, and as I said before, we did not get a cast on the first 2 rounds because of technical problems. So James,
first
thoughts?
2 rounds, just for a bit of context, the first 2 rounds were Tank Courtyard, and we both won our defense on those rounds. Generally, I think that objective is a little bit attacking bias, often. So it's interesting that we both won defense on it. Yeah. Thoughts on the bans, maybe? Worth going over?
Sure.
Sand is our ban at the moment. As you may have seen from our performance against Era 404, we have some work to do on Sand. And I assume the Snowpeak ban is beginners don't like Snowpeak. We're not amazing on Snowpeak. Mayhem likes Snowpeak. It was a map we were potentially going to choose if they ban Subway. But the usual ban is Subway against us. It was great that we got to play Subway. Theta's last match, getting to play Subway. We said at the start, before the match started, we're like, yay, one last Subway. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I said a couple times already, just couldn't have asked for a better last match. So at that, let's dive in. Also, just want to say this was Kesney's first big cast, and I'm so proud to see that, because Kesney is a fantastic caster. I think we're going to be seeing much more of him in the future.
It was a really good cast too.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to say that to Kesney. I thought he did really well. So our defense here, we just don't want to get capped on, basically. So we've pushed out quite a lot. In the north, I got probably a little bit too peaky. I was worried about getting shot from the south as well. The spawns for this, the attacking spawns are quite brutal. So there's an attacking spawn in the northeast at the money trucks, but there's also one south of hospital. They got the middle spawn, which is the far east spawn. So it's really limited where you can push out to, and there's a lot of luck involved. If they get the north spawn, it limits what you can push to north. If they get the hospital spawn, it limits what you can push to in terms of like burning and stuff, because technically they can shut you down. So yeah, I've tucked onto behind a little hill there to stop myself getting shot from the south, and I'm looking. A really dangerous approach here with our defense setup is if they made it past the cockpit and then down into the little dip of the fuselage, they could make it onto objective, and there's no one actually on objective. So I was very worried about that. I ended up calling Theta back to watch it because I couldn't really see it. Because we were just very focused on not getting capped on. This objective is very exposed. So yeah, Wookiee defilade, watching the south and central. Wookiee gets a lot of engagement. Beginners sending a couple east. They take their time setting things up. One thing we noticed is it wasn't a bad thing, and our first defense worked really well when we sort of pushed out a bit more and got those couple of picks. Beginners, if you allow them the time to get their 5 men in position, they're very effective. If you pick a couple off at the start of the round, that tends to be more favorable. That's something we took note of during the match. So just trying to push a little bit further than we normally would and get those couple of picks is something which you might see come in as the match progresses. So yeah, we got a bit of waiting to do here. 3 south, 2 making their way north now. No one really exposed yet. We knew there were some south. That's pretty much it.
And I just want to say, I feel like the beginners get stereotyped as just all slow all the time. They're just very careful and meticulous. And let me tell you something, when they decide to do that final push, it doesn't feel very slow anymore. Like, they're very, very good at that last moment push where everybody comes in all at once, and suddenly you look down at your tablet and everybody's dead. I think there's something to be learned. You know, if you're a new player and you're kind of just got a rough model of how teams work, it tends to be this very binary, either aggressive or passive model. But truth is that no team is really exclusively one way or another. In fact, oftentimes teams get classified the wrong way.
Yeah. So it's a very aggressive rounds from beginners. Even this match, there are some.
Yep.
So they're just setting up and clearing, working together as a team. It's good to watch. So I see a question specific to this round about the terrain I'm using in the north. It is a little bit risky. It's dangerous to the roof, but Mono can see the roof. Other than that, it's actually quite a good protected spot. Whether there are terrain differences between types of headsets, that would be something to consider. But if you start living like that, then you can just worry about everything. So yeah, I'm just worried about them pushing straight through for the outside cap, because the outside cap is so powerful. We've spotted them in tank courtyard. I missed my shots there on Killinger. Yeah, one problem with this defense, once it starts to lose people, it can collapse quite rapidly. But if we just got a couple of picks, this round would have gone the other way. Because they leave it so late in the round, a minute 20, they're very vulnerable to, if you get a couple of picks, the attack can collapse. But if you don't get those key picks, it pretty much comes down to the first 2 engagements. And we lost the first 2 engagements there. We lost Mono and Defilade. So we were weakened with them able to still do their 5-man up push. So we didn't really have a chance. Pause and Smalls working really well as a team. I was distracted by Pause. Smalls was there. I didn't want to let them get around into impact building to the backside of objective. If I'd been a little bit more aware of my time, maybe could have not peaked as much and just gone on objective. Wookiee probably should have pushed back rather than engaging again here. But at this point, we're happy he died, to be honest.
Yeah, I was
And then,
I was
yeah,
just
Theta's
basically
all
trying
about
to
dying.
take somebody down with me at this point, but I knew I was going to die. That's why I put myself in a highly visible position where I knew I could see the outside cap and dive in for an inside cap attempt if needed.
Yeah.
So I got paused. I saw the other ones, but I knew I was surrounded. So
If
that
he'd picked if you'd picked Killinger, it potentially could have gone the other way, but Smiles was even close. They were
yeah.
very close. 20 seconds is a lot of time and onward.
Well,
A
me
lot of
against four
time.
beginners, I'm not putting too much faith in myself on that one. maybe,
5
but
beginners initially. He dropped one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then I actually look over here and I see Killinger and
you're like,
Roth
oh
there,
god.
and it was just, yeah, I knew it was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So it all came to those first couple of picks, I reckon, on that round. Could have changed it. That's probably not just beginners. It's probably the case in quarantine for lots of attacks and defenses. Whoever gets the first 2 picks can weaken it just because there's so much to cover on quarantine. It's such a big map. I spotted Killinger, a little shadow movement on Killinger here, and I thought he was still in that spot. He goes upstairs, so that's why I chuck a frag there. So that's the only position we've identified at this point. Attack-wise, we've gone with a more south-biased attack because there's just so much open area in the north. Often on our attack onto this objective, we have lost people in the north. So when it gets south control, there's a lot more cover to work your way through. And with having supporting lines, you can work your way through really well. It's less likely for them to have all pushed all the way out to gas station as well, because this objective is so exposed. Yeah, again, we take our time on this. We're just trying to get it's all about those first couple of picks, and we're just trying to get those first couple of picks.
And I think what threw them off a little bit about this attack is we didn't send anyone north.
Mm.
We almost never did that.
Yeah.
At least in my time playing, is we almost always sent somebody to the north. And the fact that we didn't, you can see they have, basically 1, 2, 3, so more than half of their defense dedicated to watching the north side, and we didn't send anyone there.
This defense, if you picked then pushed, it's weak to that because it is pushed out. It requires rotations. Something to know. I think this objective is just brutal. I never feel comfortable defending this objective.
Sort of the key out of quarantine.
Yeah. And the new east one is also pretty brutal because of the crawl caps onto it. There's just some OP approaches. So Killinger's been called out quite a while ago, I believe. Pretty well known. Good powerful spot. Stopping people crossing to gas station and stuff. Especially if you've still got north control. But we have a weapon against those spots, which you'll see. The weapon's name is Wookie. Really good. Like Wookie is very effectively used this without spoiling it too much. He's used his weapon on this position multiple times. It is a very good use of the tool. So we're sort of stalled a little bit, and we need to start moving. So we do over push a little bit here with mono. Potentially should have, as Deflated and I were already moving in on burning, he probably should have waited a little bit. And then pushed once we cleared burning, because that was his danger. And we should have called for Wookie. As soon as we knew Killinger was still upstairs, that's when Wookie needed to act, and he did, without us actually asking, which was great. This pick here is critical. That could have shut down the whole of our burning attack. The second one is a frag. He definitely gets so lucky. He goes into a little gap.
Yeah, that shouldn't. Oh, and there's the M203.
Boom. Exactly what was needed. So now their defense, south defense is, their middle defense is pretty weakened. They've got west cover still, and they've got north cover. North has crashed. S'mores' crash is a good one. Dangerous, but good. Because we could have snuck past in that time.
Yeah, Smoil surprised me because I was trying to suppress pause, and then all of a sudden Deflate went down right next to me.
Almost looked like you didn't know exactly where he was.
No, I saw
For a
him.
while. You like come off it here for a little bit. Yeah. Suppose he could have pushed across. So I had a potential route through the fuselage. I had to choose which way to go here. Chose this. I should have kept going and gone inside, because I knew Raf was there in the south. I knew he was there, and we'd picked everyone else. So I should have pushed on inside and then gone for the cap. I called out Raf's position to Theta. I let him sort of get comfortable a bit, then called him out once I knew that our team were coming in, so they could get the intel. I think you heard that, didn't you? Did you, Theta?
Yeah, that's the reason I pushed around that corner so aggressively.
So yeah, always at the moment put like 4 or 5 bullets into your downed bodies, because it just seems like they're not really confirming too well at the moment. So this defense is a new one to us. We got Mono across at the start. We actually wanted to get Deflate across as well, so we could have one looking out, one looking in, and actually really have control of the east side, because east side control we felt was pretty critical. Because Deflate didn't get across, it meant that our defense was a bit compromised. So we got Theta and Wookie watching, stopping them getting inside hospital, and specifically inside hospital. We don't care about the north side of the hospital, that's covered, and we don't care about the other north approach from post office. Post office is a building we refer to, which is to the east of the objective, northeast of the objective. Again, methodical setup. It's unfortunate Mono almost got a pick really early on in the round on the dude in the far east. If he'd gotten that pick, that I think could have made quite a lot of difference. So yeah, we'll wait for a couple of minutes. This is an objective we haven't really established a defense on, other than not let them get hospital and then sort of look across onto objective. It falls apart a little bit because we're not aware of people's responsibilities as much. So we have a couple of people come off position a little bit and then overexpose. So Mono's called out Raf at this point as well. You saw him there.
I feel like most of that round was listening to Mono, for me at least, was listening to Mono's call-outs about how he's getting surrounded in the south. Or, I should say, the east.
He was panicking a lot. We just wanted him to stay alive as long as possible, because they have to clear him out. They have to come to him. I don't actually see how he dies, but it was just tuck in, ambush spot, don't overexpose, because they have to come to. They have to clear him out. You can't leave Mono in his position whilst trying to do an attack from the east. His callouts are getting more and more panicked with that smoke coming out. Is he gonna see? He does see Icy Woods. Oh, if he got that pick, that would have been.
Would have been huge if he had picked up Icy Woods there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But either way, like you said, they have to clear him out, and he's doing a great job of drawing their attention. So all 3 of these attackers have stopped so that they can deal with him.
Yep. This is where him not dying is the key here. So you're walking Theta still covering their west approach. And you can see how quickly, you'll see how quickly it collapses as soon as Mono dies. I wonder how he gets picked. So he's pushed back up onto the dunes, it looks like there. By Killinger. So that's a mistake. He shouldn't have exposed it there because he knew people were there.
Yeah, he backed all the way up to the edge of the dunes.
Yeah. So as soon as he's picked, look how quickly they're moving now. On the east, they've got control of the post office. They're getting control of the dunes. And that also allows their west to start pushing.
Yeah, and the call out came for me to get up on the stairs and start watching south too. So now the west is getting opened up.
Because we knew they had the dunes. Wookie is the only one watching the hospital entrance. He's responsible for hospital entrance control. The guys going around the north side of the hospital, that's fine. We're completely fine with that. Because they have to come around onto objective. Deflade called out that he killed the guy on the northwest corner of post office, which was unfortunate because I exposed myself to that spot. That's how I ended up dying, because I knew that spot was dead, so I didn't have to worry about it, but unfortunately it wasn't. So that's where we get destroyed.
My tablet.
That is just all about dying yet again. Yep. So you see how quickly it collapses just based upon one key pick. And that's what playing beginners is like. If they get a pick, they will capitalize on it massively. And so, yeah, if you can not get picked, you've got a much better chance. You use the clock against them. Yeah, South Hill control, yeah. We did want South Hill control. We wanted 2 to cross. We just couldn't get them across at the start because beginners shut the line down straight away, which is unfortunate. We were trying to get South Hill's control. More pushed out positioning here by beginners, slightly more outward facing, all on the north side of hospital. We haven't attacked this objective as a team, I don't believe. So we're not super ready for it. Getting Deflade picked right at the start was brutal. That line there was a great one by Killinger. Yeah. I didn't even know you could see that long from there. I always struggle to, I'm not very good at shooting with my gun on the side, so I struggle to shoot over that one.
Yeah, Smoils has a talent for finding spots like that. He will kill you from the most unexpected angles, and he always keeps his gun to the side, so his profile is really small.
That's Killinger, that one, but yeah, Smoils too is very good at it. So we just get picked off one at a time here. Mono comes in through the mall. I think the intent was to go wider. So Deflate and Mono were meant to go wide and get South Dunes control, because Dunes control is just so powerful. But we end up coming way more central, and that just plays into the defense too much.
Yeah, at this point, I called out somebody on that staircase that he was shooting at. It looks like his barrel hit the fence.
Was that the failed M203 there?
Yep. And Pause had injured me. I barely got out of that with my life, so I put some fire on it, as you saw a moment ago, and then Wookie got in a position to shoot a grenade in there, but it didn't work out. So now they're aware of our west side offense.
It could have made a bit of difference. So the only position we're aware fully of at the moment, because Smoles' shots did not sound like they're coming from there. The only position I was aware of was the northwest corner of post office and Poz's position. We sort of thought Killinger might be in that position. That was almost a really good frag.
Wow. I didn't realize how close that got.
It's a big throw. I can't throw that far. I wonder if he's on native. West native.
To beginners' credit, that street is theirs at the moment. And really to see Mayhem make it across that street. Oh, no, I lied. Theta has made it across.
Ooh, don't expose there. So Mono's probably going to die here because it's a very exposed position. He survives it. So if what could have happened here is, as soon as we identified Northwest Post Office, I was moving to get the pick on it, which is what I'm doing now. I thought there was a person in Tank Courtyard, so I'm going really low and prone because I got shot at from that direction. But it must have been a long line from Post Office or something. He exposed to that window again. If Mono had waited out east more, as soon as we picked Post Office, we could have gotten South Dunes control, which would have been massive. Now we're very more westerly stacked, without really having too much info on where players are.
I don't know that I see. It's not impossible to see Mayhem pull this out here at this point. But there's 5 beginners up. That line is strong. They'll need to break through it, and they've only got about a minute.
I end up getting surprised by Smoils. I just saw his head pop out of the fence, and I tried hitting it, but he got me first. I knew there was a lot of action coming from his west side.
That little pop-up spot is powerful.
And he kept bopping up and down on it. I don't know if they'll show it on. Yeah, see there, he keeps just popping it. And then I finally spot him because I was looking for pause. This is where I see it. And then I try to take a shot. He spots me. He has the cover advantage, and I die.
At this point, I move up, and I was going to frag Smoils' spot, but as I'm just about to throw, Wookie calls out there's a dude at the top of the stairs, so I change my throw onto pause, literally at the last second, because I thought pause is going to kill Wookie. Apparently that's a bit of foretelling, because I thought it was occurring now, but I kill Post Office first.
He could get Smoils. He probably will get Smoils. I'm going to call it right now. He gets Icy Woods instead.
Yeah, so that was the key pick there. If we'd had people up to go east now, that would have been the difference. Because now Smoils has to come off and watch east. You know, their whole focus has to switch.
Trying to get it through that doorway, which I think he's actually on track for. Maybe a little left. But if he could have.
See, I'm looking for Smoils' spot there. Initially. Yeah, I'd already thrown the frag. Okay.
Right. So the end of map 1, and as I said at the beginning, this is generally where we take questions on the first map. I have not been watching the chat too closely, so I'm just going to check real quick, see if there's anything I missed. I don't really see anything in here. I'll give you guys another minute or so to put questions in if you'd like. Otherwise,
I see one from Deeks, which I hadn't answered, about whether you could. So I think it was to do with the round. I'm just going to guess here that it was the round in which you were the last one up on the northwest objective, the one outside Impact Building. We're saying, could you have just thrown a smoke and hidden to wait out the timer? One thing to be aware of: there's a few different spots they were moving for the cap. 15 seconds is a lot of time. You need only about 3 seconds to cap, and you can cap from inside smoke. So Killinger could have run inside the smoke, looked down at his tablet. So to cap inside smoke, people just you look down and you can see your button, and could have capped. So not really viable defensively.
On top of that, Smoils was coming in internally too, so even if I had dispatched the threat outside, I had somebody coming in on the inside. It would have.
You had someone coming in north, you had someone coming from the east approach objective, and you had someone coming through the fuselage for the other inside. So, not a chance.
Okay, Kevin says, would you say the beginners like to surround the defense and just slowly pick them off before their attack?
Yeah, definitely. That's as a sort of saying. They take their time. They want to set up their 5-man, and then they leave it really late. So that's what I was saying. The weakness to that is if you do get those first couple of picks, then there's no real chance for them to rotate. But they do bring the noose in very carefully, so it's very hard to get those picks because they're working as teams very well. They're working as with teammates. So you go out to try and get a pick, and you're shot by someone else. So it's hard to counter. So potentially some more unusual defenses could work quite well against them, where you potentially have pushed out to try and get those picks. Things like that.
Let's see, another question here. One main question. It seems that so far I noticed it was really risky peeking and going aggressive on some rounds on defense. Was that just to counter beginners' offense?
Yeah, I sort of alluded to that. So we did it in the first round, which wasn't shown. We did it very effectively and on purpose, because of the really methodical attack of beginners, just trying to get a couple of those picks at the start, and it worked really well. Mono got 2 at the start, and then we just picked them off one by one as they tried to come in. And we were trying to replicate that. It's hard. So we were using more pushed out positions than we normally do. And then we got an objective. The last objective was one we didn't even have positions for, so it was harder to do a push out because we didn't know. We didn't want them to cap because they were on 2 points. So it was harder. But yeah, that was the intent, was to try and get those early picks, to weaken the 5-man beginners attack a bit.
Yeah, and like James was saying before, if you give these guys time to set up, it's just you're playing their game. You can't let that happen. You obviously don't want to play so loose that they can just pick you off one by one, because that's what they're kind of going for as well. But you also need to be able to surprise them a little bit, and if you take out one of their people, even, it can really turn the tide. So, yeah, that was just kind of the baseline strategy we were using. All right, I don't see anyone else here, and I don't really like to pause too long between maps, so I'll just jump ahead.
Yeah, I think it was just early with the flashes play with.
But beginners.
And, of course, was Mayhem's favorite map, Subway.
We're going to pick it, definitely. This spot by Killing. So what they've done before this point is push out and flash. Potentially, I think the first flash was actually an early flash, but we noticed it but didn't say anything about it. So they flashed the corner and then they've pulled back initially, but under that fire and flashing cover, they've allowed Dr. Killinger to get in position. Were you aware of this at all, Theta?
No, we had no idea someone was in there.
Yeah. Could have been a very devastating south push-out position, because you can't get past them, you can't run north past them, and you can't obviously turn west and go past them. So it's a very good spot for shutting down a lot of that south approach. And we do quite like to approach this way from the south. There are other approaches from the south, so up from the tunnels or the overpass, and it's weak to that, obviously.
If this smoke had been just a little more shallow, would have changed things a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. This. So Theta and Wookie are very practiced at this approach, as you can tell by the way they're doing it. They're just not used to this position.
Yeah, this caught me at least totally off guard. Especially after Wookie crossed, I thought it was safe. Killinger was such a patient play.
So there's a reload there, which is key.
Wookie with a very nice refrag on that. Like James said, that could have been devastating.
Yeah, if we lost 2 in the south, this round would have gone the other way. In the north, here's a good example of angles. So Mono's gone really far back as far from the corner as possible, because he will see more of a person close to the corner than they will see of him, just from how the angles work. So he'll see the person's shoulder first, which he does, gets the pick, even as a lefty. So that was a right-hand dominant corner. Even as a lefty, he could get the first look on them.
The garbage can. He's actually, I think he distracted Smoils enough that Def
then gets picked from the objective.
If he's sneaky, he should see him.
So at this point, I didn't want to over push. I just put a bit of pre-fire on a position and then rotate it right off, just to let them know that there's another one in the north, to make them think there's another in the north, and then rotate it right off so they to support the south, because the north was not pushable anymore. I had no utility. Mono had gone down outside of reach, so I couldn't grab a smoke. No utility. That northern corridor, is a death alley. So I've called to Wookie that I'm 20 seconds out at about this point here. And then it's just, he said he was ready to make his attack run. And so we just work it together.
And Icy Woods, Strajack rotating in for Raph.
So I see, is it Woods there on the first peak? Trying to hold for another one. Can't react quick enough to this and see that I thought it was a frag, so I'm getting back. Yeah, that was a bit lucky probably, especially as a right-hander, but yeah.
Hey, triple peak paying off doesn't happen very often.
No, no.
Especially when you guys have seen each other all 3 times.
Yeah. And then, yeah, just pushed. Obviously that looks weird. I'm much further away from the caster than him. Yeah, so that was just a methodical attack. Wookie had called out the last player, so I pushed on him whilst Wookie was partially engaging. So he was getting pinched, so he had to make the push onto me. If he'd got me, it could have gone the other way. Something to note. We did not push out as far, but we put an ambush C4, which, man, it's so good spotting that. Yeah, we're just running a more compressed defense than beginners ran. Again, we just needed to get the first couple of picks, which doesn't really happen. We have about 4 minutes of waiting here. So beginners are just working their way wherever C4s and all that sort of jazz.
Like he may be watching for a flanker down there. Hard to say.
I'm just waiting.
I mean, he's not moving, so
Woods is looking for a flank, it looks like, underground. And then they got 2 two-man teams, it looks like. Yeah, so Woods is just flank duty. We don't tend to flank on Subway. We do sometimes, but just to keep it mixed up. But overall, we don't flank much. Just because there's so many spots that attacker could be hiding. Against a good team, there will be someone ready for that flank at all times. And you'll just get picked off because you're walking through lots of zones which are not clear. Man, that's a good spot.
did it get disabled? Yes, it is gone.
Oh.
However, it could still be fragged.
I am amazed that he caught that.
You'll be looking, I imagine, and maybe in game, the light of the C4 might be brighter. It's a good spot. That sort of just indicates how methodical beginners are approaching us. They're checking every single wall for C4. There's another C4 right here somewhere, isn't there? Where is?
Yeah, it's right behind that
behind
sign.
the hotel sign.
Yep.
So the grenade was thrown by, it looks like Pause, and it was thrown down the alley here, the little hotel.
They spot that one too.
Wookie's watching that way and kind of holding really
from back. That's what they're trying to deal with there. I'm wondering.
I'm not sure what they were
The one thing I'm wondering is that hotel sign there on Quest.
It was a good throw.
Is anyone on Quest in the chat? Is that hotel sign there?
I see Woods got defilade on the overpass defensive tuck in there. Now grenades rolling in, expecting a push.
Just doing a check nade over the top. They weren't out in the open, obviously.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but
because that'd be really interesting. If the hotel sign's not there, then you don't want to use it to hide a C4 behind.
Well, I am so sorry, Smoils, if you watch this later.
Because I know some signs on Bazaar are not there.
I see Woods downs Mono with a nade, and I really like. I don't know if you're seeing the same body that I'm seeing, but Mono is just
Mono just leaning against the wall.
Typical.
On the job. So we lost Deflate and Mono. That's pretty brutal. We're very exposed here. I shouldn't have peeked this. I should have stayed back. I'm just wary of the the smoke cap, because this particular corner that's very open to that. So engaging early is not necessarily a bad thing. So the two of them got the first, but as I got the first, Woods peeked out on me, which was how it went. 3v2 could have gone either way. As soon as smokes come out, it becomes very panicky because of the way in which this objective is structured.
I don't think saw him rotate out of there, so I think he knew that Wookie was down there because Wookie had killed Pause earlier. So they got that cross for free, and they.
Not sure. Were you talking a lot here?
Yeah, we were just basically using proximity chat the whole time.
What I probably would have gone defense-wise is potentially Theta spot good, but then Wookie potentially more on the north side behind the little half wall north, because there's a little. You're not exposed to the southwest then, and he can cover the east approach, and then Theta can cover the north and tuck back from the east approach. They have to then penetrate in from the west approach. They have to then penetrate in. Back here like this, there's lots of play. Like you have to cross open areas in order to defend, and you're quite far off for these sort of when they eventually. Do they smoke it? You flashed.
They flashed it. Yep.
You flashed. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was terrified
then,
because I got flashed and didn't know what was going on in the objective, so I just had to check it at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good flash. The flash seems so far away. Flash range must be massive.
I'll have to check the footage, but I generally don't fire like that if I'm not flashed, because I was just firing straight down the line. I had no reason to do that.
Yeah. No, I feel like you were flashed. So this round, definitely want to see the start of this round.
Yeah, I want to go back a little bit.
Because
this is the best part.
It's over pretty quickly.
So close.
They've been one more step. So the casters say this frag would have got him. I don't think this frag would have. I think it would have been stopped by the wall if Mono had already killed him. Something weird happens here with Poz's one. I think he's downed. There's some weird sync thing. He's downed before he threw the nade, but for him it looked like he threw the nade. So his nade sort of went, oh wait, I'm not throwing, and ended up back on his body. So something really weird occurred there. Not sure exactly what. This is a great frag, bouncing it down the stairs like that. Haven't seen a frag bounce like that, to be honest. I'd called for a revive straight away, which was potentially on if he'd gone straight away, but the correct thing was Wookie coming, which Wookie did start to come just before I got finished off. Luckily, he didn't come all the way. We'd called for Deflate to flank quite early on. As soon as we realized they were heavy pushing the north, we were like, go, Deflate, go. Because so Deflate was in a slightly more pushed out south position. So I talked about us not really flanking often. This was one time when we have, and it worked well. But the timing on the flank is critical because it was weakening up the defense a lot.
Yeah, that was one of those objectives because my whole job on that one was watching the south stairs. We've got a little bit of time here, so I'll just explain it.
Wait, we missed our whole attack on north stairs.
Did we?
Yep, that's how quick it was.
Yeah, okay, that's my fault.
Before this, yeah.
Yeah.
So without spoiling it too much, yeah, a bit more.
I don't know how I managed to do that. I must have just skipped.
It's literally it's a 40-second round.
Oh, that'll do it. Okay, so here's the end of the round we watched before that.
Nades come down. C4 goes up. C4.
Like if you're really good at chucking C4.
I wonder if time and it gives you enough time to
Didn't leave the. Oh, they left the overlay up.
Oh, no, they would have pulled it down. I'm pretty sure they pulled it down.
Oh, timer's going right now. I think, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like I've seen this. So beginners often push this corner. They've done it on our attack against us. We've capped against them on this objective maybe twice, definitely once. Mono was flashed when he killed Killinger there, which is worth noting. He'd no idea that he'd killed him until he watched, or after the round or whatever. So within that space of time, I've traded with one, Defilade's traded, Mono's got two, as we push through, and then so that's 4 down. They put a flanker onto the north. We just had we always have someone watching for flanker, and so flanker was a free kill pretty much.
Both attack and defense on that one. I did not see much. I was on the south side both times, and everything was going on in the north.
Yeah. All right, so we saw this, and then so now we just have the last round. Well, the next round is attack on the south one, which is I like attacking it. I'm not a huge fan of defending this objective, just because there's cap spots. It's hard to cover all the cap spots, and against a team like beginners, that'd be very hard. They push Strajak out a bit. We're wary of someone coming down the stairs, so Defilade's just waiting for that. And then he's going to regroup. So Theta and I we often work this overpass together, one each side. I get the lucky side, Theta gets unlucky.
This is the dice roll.
Yep. I didn't hear your shots, so I didn't think he was dead. So I was expecting him to push back to the corner at about this sort of timing. So I go throw a nade that way and then check the other way, to sort of push him back and then check the other way. I thought he was still alive, and then I see the body and call it out. We're at Lima 4, which is good. 4v4, probably better than 5v5 for the offense on this objective, because it is a hard one to defend. So it's a good take that trade of life, definitely.
James is, and that there is at least one sitting in the overpass, and that got called out. Now they do have the front of this really covered here between Pause and Killinger, so that entrance is.
So I'm wary of someone. If someone's at the top of the stairs, they can see my feet before I see them, so I've gone prone there to clear the top of the stairs. Sorry, I talk about what I do a lot, but that's because I know what I've done.
I think Smiles also put a flashlight down. Yes, he did.
So MT, specific to that push on the overpass, your comment about whether we should have let it go. We had approaches coming from the other directions. Having the overpass, I like the approach from the overpass for an alternate angle onto that east alley. It's a good alternate angle, especially if there's support from Mono and Wookie. But they'll come in the other direction. So I do like the overpass attack.
Look at this C4 placement.
Yeah. It's good spot. If it had been a little bit higher, so Wookie spotted it there. He's panicked. He doesn't want to shoot it because if he misses, and they set it off based on the shots, it's a problem. He's trying to bait it out with the smoke. The smoke was a bit long, unfortunately.
A good shot to disable it.
This frag sets it off. Frag sets it off.
No longer works, so he's coming around the corner with a grenade, and it went into the shop.
I feel like that was a frag, but it went inside the sex shop because the colliders are broken at the moment.
I wonder what happened to that thing.
And they should own the corner. Woods is going to come out and take a peek. Woods having a heck of a game with 6 kills right now.
So it's a good push through for ISC here, because he's pushed into a spot which is previously thought cleared. So Wookie thinks it's clear and is looking longer. So he's pushed through, and he's also through the smoke. Then a trade. I hear literally one footstep here and shoot from the hip pretty much. It was literally a snapshot. Very much a lucky shot. 1v1 on this. Deflate has the perfect approach for 1v1. He's taken his time. It's less likely approach because it's a dangerous one. And yeah, 1v1 great approach to have,
I don't think he knows what
especially because he was already there. If he'd taken if he was somewhere else and had to go all the way around, then Killinger might have started checking it. But he wasn't really checking it often because it was unusual to have someone there.
There it is. Mayhem has taken out beginners, tying them.
And yeah, definitely saw Killinger run past, and then as Killinger came past the second time, just took the shot. Great to win Subway that decisively, except for the fact that winning Subway that decisively means that more people are likely to ban it, and we love playing Subway, which makes me sad. So I understand why Theta is making a new team. It means that he gets to play Subway.
Yeah, I don't think any team I'm on is ever going to match the win rate on Subway for Mayhem. I think the all-time win rate for Mayhem on Subway is something like 90%. It's insane. Just something beautiful about that map that always just clicked for us.
Yeah.
So end of map 2. And just want to check the chat. It's slightly better eyes than I did last time. I'm not seeing anything except the question, was that planned since it's a common lane for C4?
Wookie going that way. Not specifically for the C4. It's just it's what Wookie and Mono tend to do approach-wise. And Theta will sort of help them out. Once we sort of clear the overpass, between the 4 of us, we just sort of work our way around there. I don't tend to go up that alley because the other 3 are better at it. I tend to go the east side. But it's not planned. Not planned out that much.
All right. Yep, I don't see any other ones, so we'll just keep chugging right along. Bazaar was the last map, which, at least from my perspective, I was a little surprised. I thought they'd take us to Downfall, most likely. So to see a Bazaar, I don't know. I guess we've been performing pretty well on Downfall, so maybe it was that they wanted to avoid. But either way, I personally was not expecting a Bazaar round.
Yeah, it's a hard offensive pick, Downfall as well. Bazaar, when they picked it, we're like, oh man. And then when this objective came up, we're like, oh man, because we don't really have a defensive setup for this objective. We haven't had the time to really, we've gone in and sort of chosen some positions, but never really vetted them. Mono had been like, my position doesn't really work. We were like, well, let's just try it. And his position doesn't really work.
For anybody that can't see him, he's right here. We had done this in free roam and we thought he'd be safe, but spoiler alert, he wasn't.
Yep. We thought he was tucked in enough. But also, Mono runs the longest stock configuration ever. His links are way out there, so his armor's probably like...
Yeah, I don't think they do either, but I think that the south play is the smart play, putting 4 there, because crossing from north to objective is pretty exposed and coverable from the south of objective, whereas covering south from north is a lot harder.
Whoa, I didn't realize there's that teleport. That would...
You came out of blue room by Mono, for example.
I'd love to see teleports.
So you can walk
So pretty defensive-wise, so Theta's watching across to the northeast for early warning. Wookie's an ambush spot across to that courtyard to the... and slash someone, coming through the courtyard and then down. I'm looking across objective north side of the tank in case someone came from that blue room and picked Theta and then ran in straight away. And then Mono's is a looking back at objective ambush type spot, which we will not be using again. Pretty much, because it was a surprise spot. Beginners know the approaches, so you can see what Paz is doing. He knows that it's unlikely to get spotted from any position. It's a very, you would think that approach is dangerous. You'd think, why would someone come along to scaffold? It's so exposed, but it's not. It's not exposed to any reasonable defensive position, except maybe someone in the bar. So as soon as he clears the bars, he can work his way along there and does it very effectively. Picks Mono, and then actually goes up the scaffold and picks me over the top of the tank. So again, something to adjust to not let the attackers get the scaffold, because I think we'll see a lot of that if on defenses which do allow the scaffold. Because you can clear, my position can get cleared from there.
Intended throw, but they should have eyes on that
It's just a dangerous cross to get under the scaffold on defense. That's all. Empty.
Well, they should
Um,
have eyes on it from Theta's perspective, as Paz can't cross his line from blue.
depending on the spawn, because the spawns are so different.
This pick really messed me up too, because I heard the shots coming from directly in front of me, and my rotation's supposed to be from that room to James' position if he goes down. But when you got picked from the scaffolding, I knew if I did that, I was going to get shot too. So what I did instead was try to confront him, and you'll see it does not work out too well. So I want to confront him and then go back and pause with the team.
Paz was even helping us a little bit. I think
Yeah.
Paz get you as well.
Yes.
You got a lot of kills this round,
Yes, he did.
including Killinger.
So the pick comes here in just a moment, I believe. Yeah, here it is. He's going to spot you. So I hear those shots.
So I'm standing. I should have been crouched, but I was starting to get a bit worried about objective at that point.
I knew I was getting surrounded too. I could hear these footsteps, so I tried.
Yeah,
to come
you'd called out there's that they were on you, so I was getting worried about them picking you and then rushing objective straight away. So I had gotten more stand-up-ish than I should have. If I'd been crouched, I may have been safe. At this point, I'm yelling over the radio because I'm downed. Yelling to get back because they're smoking objective. So yeah, Wookiee's in let's die mode. If they hadn't picked Wookiee there, Smalls potentially could have got the cap before he could see him.
I think losing mono like that was pretty substantial because that was all my cover, and so that critical position just south of the tank was compromised pretty fast.
We need to find a good spot which can protect you essentially. So yeah, we're just sort of waiting in the north. Wookiee unfortunately had popped that smoke, so he had it in his hand with the pin pulled at the start of the round. We didn't actually want to use it, but we'd had a call out from Deflate that they had someone in Kiot, so he had to throw the smoke and then go onto rear guard. So you can see him now watching Kiot. There wasn't anyone in Kiot. It was just the game sound doing some weird stuff, and it slowed us down a lot. But yeah, there had been a call out about Kiot. I thought they might push someone out to that Strajack's type position because it is a common one to go to. We're also worried about probably Paz runs a position because he ran it previously. Theta's position, looking up the street.
Do have Mayhems that are moving across the street on the opposite side.
Mono called out that pick. Unfortunately, he wasn't 100%, but he thought he'd got him.
Yeah, you can see, I think that's my laser, or no, it's still Mono's, I think, but I checked the scaffolding as I was coming back, or coming across, and I did not see a body. I was confused.
As part of the last two maps, we've seen Strata do a lot of very almost make them have to dig me out of this corner.
Yeah, this attack was not amazing.
I think
that's one way of describing it.
Yeah, we just got held up a bit by some callouts at the start about Kiot, and then so we got worried, and we needed to aggress to get the northeast control a bit more with smokes and getting across. And the Deflate also got held up because about the dude in Kiot, and then Deflate pushes down a line and probably shouldn't have, which is straight down a line where people can see you straight up from here. Whereas it going west and supporting the west would have been better. So it got screwed right at the start a little bit. Yeah, we'd seen Killinger use the spot before as well. We talked about it in the 10. Mono potentially shouldn't have died to it, as he will, as you see. So we thought they were on 4 now. If they were on 4, it might have caused some rotations, and that could have turned to 5 potentially. They were on 5 up still. Very hard to do anything against a 5 up defense without getting picks initially. Again, it's just about getting those picks.
I don't think they did because he wouldn't have had Wookiee move up.
I'd called for Wookiee to smoke the street. I didn't intend for him to run into an uncleared spot to throw the smoke. Unfortunately, he ran forward to the concrete and threw it. Which meant that he'd now, whilst doing that, without having a gun in your hand, you're exposing yourself to an uncleared zone. So just something which is worth not doing. do it from a location you know is clear and safe.
The Mayhemians to cross in the north, but Mono Smoils actually rotated away from his position, and if Mono just kind of walked to his objective,
Yeah.
it's open.
Don't know if I think Mono thought that he was low enough to get away with this or something, but
Right here, camera 1,
yeah.
covering the spot that
I just remember being behind him and then watching him die to that, and I was just so confused why he decided to keep going that way.
We talked about it in the tent before the round too.
We knew Killinger was going to be in there, and Smoils was high probability to be right next to him. That's why I was like, nope. I watch it to see if anybody pushes out, or, I don't know, a confirm or something.
Yeah.
But I was not going to keep pushing that angle and just add to the pile of bodies.
Yep.
Probably should have rotated faster than this, though. Burned a lot of time hanging out there and then checking my back.
Right now we have 5 beginners up, 2 Mayhem.
Where have I gone? I've gone down into blue room because I haven't even tried to push the ace now.
30 seconds left.
And
I think
yeah, just get picked.
split.
I think we all just die. I don't even think we get a kill necessarily.
I trade at the end.
They're in very different regions.
Everyone's just shooting at stuff now. Like,
Oh, I trade as well. I shoot a Strajack in the head.
Shooting at stuff on the map.
I've definitely done that in a game, and I've called it out. I said, I'm pretty sure I just killed that rock, guys. Don't you worry. It will be not a threat any longer.
It's not completely lost at this point because again, the defense does have to collapse and rotate if you get a pick. It's just about getting those picks, and because there's 5 up, they don't have to do any rotations yet, so they don't have to expose in order to get picked. So it's very hard. Almost completely lost. But if we got lucky and got a pick somewhere, then could cascade a bit.
What's happening? Or Icy Woods is just shooting. Theta now putting shots onto Killinger's position. James taking a few shots from Killinger.
So I'd Smalls had shot at me a couple times, so I just put a smoke out to try and cover my movement. Yeah, trade with Strajack, and then trade. Okay. Yeah.
2-0 game now with beginners up.
They could have split from the far west side, north.
Stellar defense, I should say.
Yeah.
But, you know, agreed.
So yeah, I think 2 rounds into Bazaar, we've got 2 kills in total in our whole team.
Kind of an early fight that happens over who owns
Not looking good.
Not looking good at all. And defending this one is brutal, especially against a team like beginners. They're just going to hook it on you. It's not a nice one to defend. It's probably one of my least favorite objectives to defend.
And back entrance, but he's complaining that he couldn't get it up high enough on the wall.
Gotta stand on your tiptoes, definitely.
Potentially should have done a more pushed out surprise type defense on them.
Maybe he can get someone
But at this point, we're, you start to get worried about losing the map and stuff a bit, and you're like, we have to win this round, blah blah blah, that sort of stuff. So attack-wise, they are setting up a couple going south. They've got kiosk control and they've got middle of market control. Pretty standard. Taking their time. Not a huge fan of mono spot. I did say this in the tent again, but because it is so, it's quite common and it's easy to check without exposing yourself to other positions, so attackers can just check it.
I just want to say too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
Are you going to say about in the cast? Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah. Like the casters and a lot of people in the chat were talking about how silly it was I didn't make that call out. It was intentional. We were trying to draw attention. We thought there were people at least nearby, but we wanted to draw people into that courtyard so Mono could ambush them. That was the whole point. I didn't actually hear footsteps behind me.
It's about let the attackers know that Theta's there, and then ambush with monos. Yeah, mono spot has been played a bit before. The reason it's not played is because it gets picked so quickly. It's just something you check as you go past. If you're an attacker, every time you go past there, I check it. If I go that way, because it's easy to check from a position without exposing yourself. Like you can check it from all of those, like those south Hess goes. You can check it from that 2-story building in the south, I'm pretty sure. But I normally check it just from those Hess goes in the south, like what Killinger did. And it's just a straight line through. Really clear to see if someone's there. And an easy pick. Yeah, you don't see people sitting there because people die there. It has in the past been used, and now it gets checked all the time, so people don't use it anymore. I haven't seen it used since like season 9, I don't think.
And once again, I'm last one up, and I knew that's... I didn't hear any kill call outs, so I was like, I'm just going to rush into them, and hopefully this works out. Because this one you really can't hold as one, especially 1v5. It's basically impossible.
How do we lose Wookiee in the north? That was the critical point at which I started to rotate and got picked because we'd lost Wookiee in the north. I was worried about them coming straight down from the north.
Let's see. Can we spot that? Okay, so Wookiee's alive.
He's up now.
Let's see if we can go a little further. A little further.
Still alive. Must get picked from the south.
I can't imagine that he meant to put the grenade at the top.
Still alive.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe Pause gets him on the south side? No, it seems unlikely.
I think he does at the same time as he gets deflated, actually. I think it's like a double kill.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. That was the point in which that caused me dying, because I died straight afterwards, because I rotate out to stop them pushing straight in from the north. And then, so there's that cascade right there.
Alright, so for anybody that's unaware, maybe new to Onward, 4 points for beginners would be the end of the map and the end of the match. This is the deciding map. So we're at 3-0.
Yeah.
And
we said in the tent, it's not over. We've done this before. Like, we have done at least twice come back from 0-3 down, specifically on Bazaar.
It always happens on Bazaar. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So we were like, we can do this. We can do this. Attacking this objective is, it's a slightly more attacking bias objective. We can do this. There's a couple of critical picks and also some critical bad shooting by Mono in here. It's a pretty traditional approach. North is exposed, but if you do get, the casters talk about this, North is really exposed, but if you do get North control, it is so powerful. You can come down onto that objective hard from the north, so it's worth the risk. If anything, sometimes, like, at this point, the pressure's sort of come off a little bit, because we're so unexpected to win. It was almost worse pressure, I found, when we were 2-0 down, because it's like, we have to get this next round, whereas now it's like, we probably lost, but we can do this, we can work together. So yeah, Mono tried to kill Deflate there. Lucky Mono can't shoot. Hey Mono. Oh, Mono's casting right now. Massive lack of banter. Because I think Deflate does a bit of work on this objective too. So I'd spotted Icy's shots. I hadn't seen Icy at all, and I saw a little black dot, and I was like, I think that's a head. And then he shot again, and I was like, that is a head, and took the shot. Because there's that little, like, it was with the 2 times, so I could see him a bit. That chair made it really hard to figure out which was the head. His shots were critical, because the flash from the shots showed where he was. And then in that result, and then Deflate resulted pick and Pause. So we knew Pause's position. We saw him go in there. Did you see him go in there? You called it out, Theta? At the start? Someone called it out.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to review the footage.
So Killinger pushed out on Wookiee, but I was supporting Wookiee, so could get the refrag. And then the defense has failed here. They're collapsed. They're rotating. Even though it's a 2v3, the rotations required result in picks. Here, I had just taken I had my hand on my mic and was clicking it now, and that would have been a cap, because there's no way Smalls is getting back on objective before a cap occurs, especially with Deflate in the south. Unfortunately, it's just the timing's not quite out, not quite on, because we knew we'd heard shots. We knew we were at Lima 2. We thought we were going to get to Lima 1, so 1 remaining. We'd heard shots. I was rushing in. potentially could have been a cap.
The objective is brutal, but
Defense of this
hold that little square in the
round. So this is again a new objective, but slight one maybe slightly easier to defend.
front of Strata.
And then what was critical here was identifying that their spawn was west, which we did pretty early on. I'm not sure who spotted it. Someone did.
It'll be interesting to see kind of how beginners decide to
But as
tactically
soon as
approach
that
Killingers
spawn was identified west,
at this point.
oh, they moved south. They crossed the south. That's when we identified.
And I deflated, and it looks like maybe
I rotated my position to a more ambushy spot. So we ended up having one north, one south. Wasn't pre-planned. Couldn't really call it out because people were on me. Killinger, decent push-up. Very separated though. I think beginners might have just been feeling like we just have to get one more, let's just do it sort of thing, and not really played their game, their methodical game. I don't know.
Yeah, I think in most situations, beginners up 3-0, you can expect that to turn into a 4-0. We played well, but I also think something slipped on their side. It's hard to imagine that it didn't.
So again, they run the clock for the next 3.5 minutes, pretty much. So by going in this blue room, I knew that as soon as I engaged late round on them, they would have to deal with me, and it would slow them down a lot. And also I can react onto people coming in. So a common approach on this is attacking them from the straight on the north of the objective onto it, because you can get onto the objective and potentially cap under smoke and stuff, because it's right there. So having someone on the north side of the street for that to react onto that when it starts occurring, if they haven't cleared them out first, is powerful. But it just resulted in me having a very stressful round because I could hear people running around me the whole time. I was like, I don't want to speak. Other than that, what else is happening? So you were on objective with Defilade and Mono, Theta?
Yep, I'm in the southeast section. I'm the arrow right here.
I am.
So basically the whole point of me being there is I've got an LMG and I'm watching this big lane you can see right there on the right side of the screen, because that is a notorious fast cap spot. You throw a smoke down there and cap in between those little buildings. And if you have an LMG, you can keep that lane completely closed. I can sit there and hold the trigger for 20 plus seconds, deny the cap possibility from that lane at least. All the other lanes for capping require you to get out in the open. It's pretty challenging to get a cap there. So that's my whole purpose in life, is just to make sure we don't get capped on.
So they're very bunched up in the northeast. I think they thought one might have been that cross position, looking northeast.
Yeah,
They've got this is Theta's position. You can see it, how he's can hold the objective, that smoke cap. Getting control of the east of this objective. If you do get control of those buildings out to the east of the objective, this is that's very powerful. Mono fortunately noticed that I wasn't quite in position and called it out and adjusted his position, which worked really in favor. I couldn't talk because I thought there were people really close to me. I didn't hear them run away. And my position's only good if you don't know about it. As soon as you know about it, you're screwed. So I can see the cross from the tank most of the time. And Mono's now watching it as well, which is good, because I focus on him. And this is where the methodical approach by beginners, as we talked about on quarantine, doesn't go in their favor, because they've only got a minute and a half left. And if there's an unusual spot like this, so I hit pause twice on that cross as he ran across then. Now they have to deal with me. I've rotated out, so they can't deal with me directly, but they have to deal with me now before crossing more people. They might try and use smokes and stuff, but pretty much they have to deal with me. And the clock is now down at almost a minute.
picks up pause, stopping that progression there along the back line of the objective building. Woods is throwing a smoke up into the air over.
So I've gone loud now.
No,
And less than a minute still. Oh, and there's team kill by Killinger.
Yep.
But they are running out of time now, and I think they started to maybe panic a little bit because they didn't get any of us. They didn't have any early picks, and they lose 2 of their own players, and they just don't have the time to really adjust to this.
Trying to get Killinger on the chase. Mono picks up Icy Woods. They're holding this defense.
They're going to push into this line here.
Yeah, I saw, I don't know if it was a frag or a flash, but I saw something come over that staircase, which is why I started shooting in there, and then Killinger ID'd me.
That flash onto Stragic behind the wall somehow got Mono as well. He was flashed then when he got shot. He said afterwards, which is kind of interesting. So, Wookiee's made it back now, and Deflade's there too. We had 2 people down, not out, who could just call out. There's a good defense. But yeah, that was where the time, if they'd attacked, beginners would have won that if they'd attacked like a minute earlier. If they tried that cross about a minute earlier, which they could have done, fully think they could have won that. So yeah, same objective. This time, Mono, the Wookiee and I go for the more aggressive across with smoke. Pause had fired at me, or fired at someone. He think he tagged Wookiee actually. I did not know I'd shot him then. I just was pre-firing. And then I just kept pre-firing. I dumped the whole magazine in there going, there might be someone there. That's where he would be if he's shooting at them. No idea that so there was no kill count there. So, and Deflate had traded, so we thought the kill count was 5 v5 still. At this point.
Smoyles was in Kiot. Well, no, Deflate was in Kiot. Smoyles maybe was on. I don't know.
Yeah, and this is to your point when you were talking earlier about getting early picks against a team like Beginners. We're just crossing the 5-minute mark, and they're already down 2 people. That's a big deal. That changes the whole dynamic of the round. It makes everything a lot more panicky for the defenders.
I'm working to clear Icy Wood's spot. I just overthrow it massively, which is unfortunate. And then I assume I've cleared it because of the throw. Because it looks like it's landed alright. But yeah. Went over and went through that little gap, unfortunately. If it hit the wall and bounced back, it would have got him. So I thought it was clear, so I moved back up to move to a second position to start clearing, get picked. That gives away Icy's position. Mono and Wookiee do really well to kill him. Key pick on Icy. Ooh. Good smoke.
Yep.
So it's an M203 smoke, stops Icy being able to use that location. He has to rotate off. As he rotates, perfectly timed pick by Mono. Wookiee was, he said afterwards that he was dead there. He thought he was dead, but Mono came out clutch.
Yeah, and this one...
Oh, you got someone through there?
Yeah, I killed Killinger. And
nice.
I had no idea I killed anybody. We had just been talking in the tent beforehand. Anybody that kind of like got skipped over there, so we'll just go back a little bit. But we had been talking in the tent ahead of time. In fact, it was Mono said anybody that comes over this way needs to pre-fire through that crack. I thought I was just going to pre-fire and cause some confusion and suppress anybody directly on objective. I did not know I had killed anybody because you can't really see through that crack. So I was just pre-firing.
Beautiful.
I just put some rounds through there, ended up tagging Killinger. I was really surprised because usually the beginners are the ones that know all the weaknesses of their spots, and the fact that somebody was in a position where they could get pre-fired through the crack on this objective, I didn't expect that at all.
No. They're so you would have thought there were 4 defenders up at this point.
Yes. Yeah, we had no idea we were down to 1, and
yeah.
I
understand why you did what you did now.
Yeah, and so I didn't hear any comms about people moving into the south, and I figured they would have somebody in the south watching the street.
You would if you had 4 up.
Yeah.
More than likely.
So I start just pre-firing all the areas where I know there are defenders. I think it's going to start here in just a second. But all the areas where it's kind of like a dark spot where I'm not going to be able to fight back very well. So I just try to tuck myself into a corner and start hitting those spots as much as I can. And at the very
hit those
least,
spots.
yeah, and at the very least, maybe cause a rotation. Somebody tries to pop out and get me, and somebody else can hit them. But I had no idea somebody was this far south. There was no communication on that. And you'll see in just a moment, I'm going to start shooting if I'm not already. Yeah, here I go. So I come out here, start looking, look down, and then I'm pretty sure, yeah, so I started pre-firing that spot because I've died to it a few times. And I did not see anybody in here. I didn't see that movement. All I saw from my perspective, it was pitch black, and then I saw red. And so you can hear me say, random headshot in the dark, because that's what I saw. I thought there was a defender down there, and I'd taken them out. Little
This
did
is
I know.
Wookie. Wookie loves getting team killed.
Yeah, it's Wookie's favorite pastime is getting team killed. But in my defense, like I said, didn't know how many defenders were left, and nobody was telling me they were going there. So my assumption was anybody I hit was an enemy.
So
And
we got to 3-3 here, and we all were doing, before the objective came up, all I was doing in the tent was like, please not key up, please not key up, please not key up. And guess what? Key out. We had, so myself, Theta, Mono, and then Deflate joined as well. We had gone over some new defensive spots we wanted to try out. So we thought, well, let's try them now. Let's not do our pushed out defense. Let's just run these new spots.
We had never run this defense before. This was a brand new setup.
And you can tell it's new because Mono dies out of position slightly. Yeah, I knew they were gonna like check that from cover because you can. So I was a little bit worried about getting too exposed. So I'm crouched before he starts shooting, and that's good. So I can rotate off. It's more about identifying, and if they do try and rush across, then you can maybe get a pick. Yeah. So we got Wookie watching the north. Mono Theta looking across objective but ready to support the north, and then Deflate and I looking across objective but further out, ready to deal with the east and west sides. Yeah, this was actually a defense specifically to target Ember with the Quokka cap push in through the center. So it's much more heavily center focused. Because we didn't want someone rushing or crawling through the center to get in. But it works quite well to adapt to the wings as well.
You've got a good pinch, and it's hard to defend both directions.
So at this point, I think all we knew was that there were people coming from the west. I don't think we had any indication there were any attackers coming from the south or the east.
But it's beginners, so they're probably going to do it.
Yep.
And take their time doing it.
You have to expect a 360-degree attack from them in most cases.
Yep.
You really get an advantage as an attacker along that back wall to play peekaboo.
The 3 beginners south of Main Street, well now just 2.
Another couple minutes of waiting. A minute and a bit. So they've cleared that spot which you're starting to see used, which was used for a while and then became out of fashion and then now is getting used again, I'm seeing it this season, is that far northwest corner up on the platform. Beginners cleared it with the check frag, and then cleared it with people because it is a good ambush spot. But if it's cleared properly, it's easy to clear as an attacker. If you don't clear it, then it's a very good defensive spot. But yeah, beginners is a team which is going to clear that. So they have pretty good control around the objective now. As an attacker right now, I'd be pretty happy.
Yep, you got somebody watching from the south side. You got 3 people coming in on the west, and you have 1 flanker in the east. And I could hear this, James could hear this. We knew they were coming west, at least 2 of them.
Yeah, I thought it was only 2. which results in me getting downed. Because I specifically react based on 2, but there was a third, which is pause coming in. Did not hear pause coming in. Had heard Killinger and Icy. They were talking, I believe. So this is a check frag based upon that. The sound's a little bit off. It sounded like he was right there. And then I saw Icy's spot and put it through. Now this movement out was specifically to target Killinger, because I thought he'd pop in that window and check me, but pause was up. Unfortunately, I didn't realize there was a third, which is problematic.
And I heard Icy Woods say, "Get me up, pause," and then I heard him say, "Good job." And I tried to come over the top and get them, but then once
looked like you almost got him. You got so close to getting him.
Yeah, I could see his elbow, but then they just ran off, and I was like, I don't know how many are in there. I know there's at least 2 if I come over the top.
It's the right call. At this point, they thought they'd confirm me with gun over the wall, but hadn't, which was lucky. I didn't give them too much intel, except click my mic a few times to say that they're on me, but Theta would have known that as well.
And they're starting to run out of
so
time
I was mainly
now.
trying to be quiet because I wanted to be there if later, if they push through, I could try and give Theta a millisecond warning before they push through. Mono's out of position there because he's trying to clear. He's trying to clear across. Probably should have left it to Theta and Defilade, because his position is, as soon as he moves south, he's exposed to the north, which ends up what happening. He should be tucked against the north wall and not getting exposed to the north. So Defilade and Theta should have been holding the west, which is what they did. The Mono's out of position. Again, the first time running this defense.
Yeah, and now I see Woods and Pause trying to come across. Pause been down by C4, and then I see Woods throws a smoke and tries to run through it, but the smoke was in front of me, so I could tell he was coming.
Had you yelled out? Did you hear me yell out that he's coming, or was that after? Yeah, sweet, cool. I thought if I yell out as he's coming through, he'll get a little bit distracted by me yelling, which would help, but also hopefully give you a little bit of warning. And they had to go at that point. There's no time left.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think those minor adjustments really threw them off, because knowing beginners, they probably watched everything they could about us on Bazaar, but we had never done that before. So I think they weren't quite sure how to react to that. And our brand new defense ended up working out, getting us the 4. So yeah, for the first time in my Onward career, beat beginners. That was a very emotionally charged moment for me. Not only did we beat the team that knocked us out of the potential for finals last season, but I knew it was my last game as a Mayhemian, and I could not have asked for a more fairy tale ending to that, coming back from 3-0 on Bazaar to beat one of the best teams in the world.
Definitely.
Right, and let's see, gonna go through, see if there are any questions here. It's monospot comment. I think you already addressed that. Ursine Cascades says, do you like turning your gun sideways for vertical peaks? I've always thought the inaccuracy isn't worth the lower body mass. I don't know, James, do you use that very much? I don't think you do, right?
I never do it. I've just never practiced it. I think if you practiced it and got good at it, it'd be a really good thing to do, because it is less exposure. I'll move into sideways into chatting mode. Yeah, I think it could be quite good to practice. Yeah, I don't really have. I've talked about time. I don't really have time to practice developing gun skills in game, really. And it would take a bit of time to get good at it. For me, it's too weird and inaccurate to run straight up. But yeah, it is very effective at exposing less, because you go, especially with like a gun like an AK-5C, it goes quite a height over bore, or the G36C. AK-12 is a lot closer, so less exposure. But G36C and AK-5C to have a decent offset between your eye position and the gun barrel.
And I'll say for LMGs, I found it is basically impossible. It's already inaccurate enough.
Huge.
And
but it would work really well. So, Smoils, I think, is an LMG player who does it quite well.
yeah, I just, like James, I haven't practiced it, so maybe there is a way of doing it. I've just found it's not something I can personally do, or I'm not putting the time in to make it work. I don't think there's that much of a benefit to it, but I don't know. Let's see. Why's my gun? Yeah, Willem says I've tried to do it at certain angles. It makes my tracking glitch out. I found that too with my Quest when I'm using it. Is the tracking is not terrible or anything, but when I start putting my controllers at angles like that, I do occasionally lose tracking. So I wouldn't bother.
I found the Quest 2 tracking to be really good, but the Rift S had terrible tracking for that. Like you bring the gun up and it just randomly like do weird stuff. It was almost unusable.
Yep. And CV1, I know we've talked about this, but I wish you could get a Quest 2 with the external tracking of Rift 1 or Rift CV1. That would just be fantastic, because that is
take the money.
Yeah, I know. External tracking would just be so nice to have with this headset, because the resolution is good. Field of view could be a little bit better, but other than that, the Quest 2 is a great headset. Just the tracking. I just wish we could have the option of external tracking. So, I don't know. Azure says even with CV1 I can't shoot sideways. Yeah.
Should be able to. Weird. Yeah. Man, now I'm thinking about what my dream headset combo would be. Quest 2 controllers with external tracking with an index headset at the moment. Or maybe I haven't tried the G2 headset, but apparently it's really pretty sexy as well.
So some people have made the, what do they call it? It's like the Franken headset or something. Maybe somebody in the chat will remember the right name, but they take the G2 and then they bind it with the tracking system from the index, which sounds pretty incredible.
Was it Nomad or or Spartan who did
Spartan?
That?
It was Spartan.
It was Spartan.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he's here tonight, but if he is, maybe pipe in with some details. But yeah, there's another guy, Eric for President, on YouTube who made that and really liked it from what I remember. So it'd be cool. It's just, it sounds like it's also a ton of work. So most people that own a headset are not going to go through with that, I would imagine. Can we just get external tracking on a headset like this?
Even if they just had, like, because they use camera tracking from the headset, if you just could integrate in an optional external camera you could have, just so I can throw grenades. That's the only reason I want. The tracking on Quest 2 for sniping and all that, and just shooting in general, I'm super impressed with it. It's amazing, especially compared to Quest 1 and Rift S. Like, Rift S was worse than Quest 1 for some reason, and then Quest 2 has like great, except for throwing utility.
Yeah, I've struggled with the tracking on throwing utility. I've got it down now, but when I first started playing with the Quest 2, it was really, really hard for me to get a throw down, because it would, like, mid-throw, it would drop the grenade, and the grenade would land straight at my feet. So that's part of the reason I started bringing smokes, aside from, like, the changes in the meta, because if I threw a frag or a flash and that happened in the middle of a match, it would be disastrous. So didn't want to take that risk. Sure, everybody remembers my famous smoke throw in the middle of the Peacekeepers match, which clearly a showcase of just world-class throwing ability. Really needs to go on the highlight reel with all of your nades, I think.
Yep, I can get in there. I can remember it exactly. Subway, upstairs, south objective. You're on the corner just northeast of it. You try and throw underarm with your right hand around the corner, and you hit the corner right there. Oof.
Yep. Top secret strats, ladies and gentlemen. Nomad says, I'm happy with my pure index setup with 4 base stations. Yeah, I bet that's sweet. Bet that is sweet.
I just don't like the index controllers. Not a fan of them.
I don't know anybody who has an index who hasn't had to RMA something. It's either the controllers or the headset itself. I've heard people talk about the base stations going out too, but it just seems like I don't know. I don't know what exactly it is. I've never had an index, but every person I've met that has one has a problem one way or another. Whereas the Quest and the CV1, they just work. They just work. I had some stick drift issues on the CV1, but that's about it. Other than that, it worked. And then the Quest 2, like little minor tracking issues occasionally, but never anything substantial. So, yeah, regardless of all the like Facebook stuff that makes people nervous and all that, I think Oculus has made some pretty solid products so far.
Yeah, for sure. Just give me Quest 2 controllers. External tracking. Come on.
I know.
There's a Quest Pro coming out. Let's see what that does. Then there'll be a Quest 3 at some point after that. Maybe somewhere in there'll be something. Index, I don't know. There's talk about them working on something. I've forgotten the name of the project. There's talk of Valve working on something. It's been 2 years, coming up to 2 years now. So that's generally a sort of product cycle you might expect within VR. So
yeah,
maybe
you'd think after 2 years you'd have something, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Even if they just released a controller, like a simpler controller.
I have to say, I still kind of miss the original CV1 controllers. Some of
the good controllers.
Yeah, the touch controllers were so nice. And I understand why they changed the Quest 2 controllers to have the ring on the top, but like it's just so compact and sleek and they just worked. So if I could get a Quest 2 with the touch controllers and external tracking, I think that would probably be my current generation wish list right there. Obviously, I'm sure the next couple of generations are going to be way nicer than what we have now, but based on what we have today, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, just a little bit more. The extra field of view on the Index headset is quite nice, though.
What about the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go. Yeah.
Empty Full asks, what about the Deca Move hip tracker? Was it you that ordered one of those? I know somebody that got them.
Got one on order. Hasn't arrived yet. Apparently they have an app as well. You can use your phone for it, which I haven't tried. But yeah, it's the sort of thing which would hopefully add a next level of immersion. Hip tracking, I've talked about it a couple of years ago, would be a really good addition to a game like Onward because that's how you move. If you can track hips, you can track. Ideally, if you could track 6 degree of freedom hips, that would be even better because you can actually, if you know a hip location, you know the head location, your hand location, you can do things like leans. You can actually control movement speed based upon your hip point direction, which is you run, your legs are attached to your hips, so you run relative to your hips. It would make a huge difference to the game if it was integrated, especially if Deca Move became a 6 degree of freedom type tracker. Then you could actually get proper leans in and stuff if you integrated them well into a game, which would be so good. Imagine like properly lean around a corner and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing is when you only have a headset and controllers, your IK is always going to be off. There's just no way around it. That's why we've got the spider crab. That's why we've got, lack of leans and that sort of thing. We just don't have the tracking fidelity because we only have those two pieces to work with. So, yeah, I would be amazing if Deca Move would happen. I will say if they just enabled it as a feature, it would be such a competitive advantage that everybody that competes would have to get it. Like, being able to lean like that, I can see people using that pretty extensively.
Yeah, I'd want it mainly for the immersion side, like the movement. So the movement at the moment is hand/gun based hybrid, and then obviously head based. So if it became hip based, that'd be my go to. Just immersion wise would be great.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
I
can't. Onward in 5 years. Onward 2 maybe. Onward 3. I don't know what they get to by there. 5 years time. Onward would be pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing where it gets to.
Yeah, I personally wonder how they're going to solve locomotion outside of just using thumbsticks because Like omnidirectional treadmills have been around for a while. I just feel like that's never going to catch on. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's just like it's a big, bulky piece of equipment. It doesn't. Yeah, it's like it's got to be the Matrix, man. You just got to plug into the back of your head.
It's good. Surely your brain is all electrical signals. You know, people can tap into them. There'll be some form of brain interface eventually. Yeah, there'll be something along those lines. Probably not to the extent that you'll have a plug socket in the back of your head, but there'll be some form of non-invasive brain interface, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally think that the brain interface thing is going to happen, but it's a lot harder than people understand because number one, you don't know how I shouldn't say you, we as a species do not how to interpret brain signals. So we know there's a lot of electrical activity going on and we can pinpoint where those things are happening with certain types of brain scans. And we can kind of make some loose conclusions about what's going on in there. But other than that, like we don't know exactly what's happening. And then on top of that, because we don't have the neural code down at that level, we don't know how to send inputs to the brain either. So we don't have an output processing system and we don't have an input system either. And
I think the output side could be done with like machine learning type thing, in which you could have you have an interface and then you have to go through a calibration process such that you have an avatar or whatever and it says think about moving your right arm and you go through that calibration process initially. So it doesn't necessarily it doesn't have like a formula for everyone's brain which works straight off the bat, but you go through that calibration type process, and then it learns about you and what to look for in simple terms. Like this is a right arm move. It's also all these other things, but this is a right arm move. Things like that. I think you could get to that, but yeah, getting to the next stage where you're getting like inputs that requires a lot of understanding of the brain.
Yeah. And
Without knowing anything about it.
And to your point, they've actually created devices for people who are paralyzed and the like, where they do that exactly what you're talking about, where they have a baseline pattern and then just very rudimentary like third-party limbs, like robotic arms and stuff that can do things. But still, it's like not to the point where like, I don't even know if it's a matter of computing power or it's just the complexity of like the data itself and trying to pull something out of that. But yeah, the input side I think is really what's going to take the longest amount of time. Like how do you plug into a brain and change the sensory experience in a way that you can construct predictably? Like we could just poke people's brains over and over again.
Non-hackable, non-lethal way. Oh Jesus.
Yeah. There's a lot of
I think you'll see
issues there.
I think you'll see like and then, again, there's been talk of this, not like completely left field, about contact lens type AR and all that sort of stuff. And you might see tapping into the optic nerve before you get tapping into the brain as a whole type thing, which could give you a visual stimulus. But I don't know. Wait and see. 5-10 years. Interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, and the thing too is if you start tapping into the skull, super dangerous. Anytime you open the skull to do anything, even if it's a brain surgery for like a relatively minor thing, it's just so challenging to do that safely. And that's in a sterile operating room. I can't imagine what it would be like if you had like, I don't know, a service that's doing it or something. So as much as I want this to happen because I want to see the next like 10 generations of VR, whatever that looks like, I do think we're still a ways off. We're probably going to be stuck with like bulky stuff on your head for a little while at least, until we get like, I don't know, AR glasses at a bare minimum.
So Chief has said that they're doing it now. I didn't think they'd done it with a direct brain interface though. I thought that what they did was have input pattern into a different nerve cluster, and then it was the person trained themselves, their brain got trained for that nerve cluster to think that it was the hand. So they had like an input pad on a different part of the body. I don't know where, I can't remember. But then that input pad through training was associated with the hand rather than the signal being directly put into the brain. But I have not read up on it much.
Well,
Interesting. I'm going to be reading up on that after this. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, me too. I need to update myself. Yeah, Chief. That's what you get, Chief. Posting links in here.
Timed out.
Nightbot doing its job there. Thank you, Nightbot. So yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions or anything. I just want to say, if there are, by all means, type them in. I'll give you another, however long. Well, I can't post a link, but search for prosthetic hand with sense of touch. I'm gonna do that.
I got the link because I think I'm a moderator. I could see the link.
You are.
Ah, sweet. I've
Nice.
got it.
Yeah, I'll check that out afterwards too. The rest of you, you're pretty much out of luck. Sorry. Hey, Chief, maybe post that in the cult so people can see it. I'm sure they'd be interested. But anyway, since I'm not seeing any more questions, I know I could talk like this for hours, but I'm feeling pretty exhausted personally. Had a couple hours of tryouts, and then I walked straight into this. So
the skin is electronically connected to the nerves in the arm, and then that's relayed too. And so you learn those nerves are associated with the hand.
Oh, that's a trip.
Hmm.
Wow, technology is just something else these days. When I was a boy, we had Nintendo, and we were happy. We were proud of our Nintendo, and if the Nintendo didn't work, you pulled out the cartridge, and you blew in it, and then you put it back in, and it worked. And we were happy about it. Now these kids with their Quest 2s and their, I don't know, PlayStation 11s or whatever it is that they have now, they just don't even know. They have no idea. So, anyway, yeah, old Theta. I am definitely old. Look at the color of my skin here. I'm practically dead already.
How nervous were we at 3-0? I was more nervous at 2-0 than 3-0, to be honest. Sorry, on the actual question in the chat.
Oh, I missed that one.
Just jump in there. How nervous were we at 0-3 on Bazaar? Personally, I was more nervous at 0-2 because I was like, we still got a chance of winning here, and we need to win this next round. Whereas at 0-3, it's sort of like, come on, guys, we could do it, but we're not. It's not expected to win at that point. So it wasn't as much pressure.
You said something at the beginning of 3-0, and I know you were just kind of saying it to keep morale up, and maybe you didn't even fully believe it, but you said 3-0. Oh, that'll just make our comeback that much more incredible. And we all kind of laughed about it, but it's prophetic, gotta say. Called it, man. And I don't know, maybe you were feeling the same way. I didn't feel like there was that much tilt in the tent. I didn't feel like, I truly, as weird as it sounds, I didn't feel that much pressure at the 3-0. I was like, we're just going to keep playing, and whatever happens, happens. And that's exactly what we did. And maybe it was that we have nothing to lose kind of attitude that carried us through. Because at 3-0, most teams, I think, would have given up and just assumed that 4-0 is going to happen and maybe done something crazy. But we never really did that. We just said, all right, it's the next round. Just one round at a time. We're going to do this. And we did.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's also help not having the expectation that we should win because it's beginners. It's like
yeah.
Statistically, we should lose, so a lot less pressure from that side.
Not only that, but after our match, well, both of our matches against Ember and Error 404, I think there wasn't a lot of belief in the league, and maybe even a little bit of that on our side. I don't know, but it just felt like, the chances of winning a match against beginners after dropping both of those were pretty slim. Which, yeah, I didn't blame people for voting against us. After the Error 404 game, the voting went from favoring us to favoring beginners. Not by a huge margin. I think it was like 17 or 18 votes, and they were both it was like one was at 60, one was close to 80 or something. Like, it wasn't massive, but people were clearly shifting their opinions about us. And I didn't blame them for doing that after watching the game before that. I forgot to address this, but we didn't do an Error 404 review. And I think it was just a matter of time more than anything. And we couldn't do it tonight. That would have been an extremely long stream. I don't know. It's kind of a brutal match. We lost, obviously. They outplayed us, and we had some bad luck as well. So I think that pretty much sums up the match. we don't need to necessarily analyze that on stream.
Other than to say that Skyjoker just loves being on fire.
Yep. Yep. I actually missed that because I was watching the cast and then I got called in, and then that happened on the round after I had stopped watching. It had already happened, but it wasn't caught up on the cast. So when you guys were talking,
because in that same round, like that was the round where we felt we had the chance to win the defense, and like it was like, this is the most defensible objective. This is the round to win, and then we'll be at 2-1 up or whatever, or 2-1 up, and then we can work our way through. That was the round to win.
Yep.
And then straight up, Skyjoker burns himself to death, and then during the round, Cappy controller dies, so he has to go out of position, which results in him being out of position when he gets picked, and like it just all cascaded. And like I died because I checked the position I wouldn't have if Skyjoker was up. Like it was just a brutal timing to have a round like that. Because that objective is probably the most defensible one on sand, or other than maybe the Far East objective.
And then on top of that, when we, sand obviously didn't go our way, and then downfall, we had one good round on that where we held, and then we got that terrible, terrible, terrible East Stables objective, and we lost.
And we got unlucky on on our first attack, because Deflate downed Icy right at the start, and then put confirmation shots into him. You can see it on the cast. He shot 4 more shots into the body, and then he wasn't killed, which it happens at the moment with the state of the game. So Icy gets revived. I think Icy takes out like 3 people on that attack, and if that attack had weakened the South, we then if Icy had been killed properly, the South would have been weakened. It would have drawn out some rotations. Could have gone the other way easily. So yeah, downfall was Sam. We're like, oh well, Sam, we're not very good at, and we had some weird rounds, which stuff happened. Downfall was the one where we felt like we should have won it, and didn't play our game as we should have won it, as we should have played it, and also got unlucky on that one objective. Being able to get shot 2 seconds into the round before you can move at all is pretty not good. I don't know the best way to put it. That spawn shouldn't exist.
Agreed. I don't know how that one made it into the final build. It's just so unbalanced, and we've done it to other teams too. We've gotten
we
that
did it to
objective.
Ember.
Yeah, Potato came up on that hill and just rained death down on Ember, and
not quite as badly. So with us, if it was against the PCVR team, this is the other side of why that spawn is bad, is because it's actually different as well. Because Quest players can get a 2-second head start up that hill because they can get on spawn, get up the hill. So makes it even worse, because Wookiee would have made it to cover, which wouldn't have made a difference. We still would have got slaughtered, but it would have helped stop them getting on objective, because they should have capped on us that objective. Well,
what was crazy about that too is, as anybody who plays the game knows, in the tent you don't see smoke. So when you ran to the objective, we could see Icy on the objective, and we're all just going, "Oh my god, oh my god, just shoot through the smoke, just die, do something." And then
I was trying to die.
Yeah, and
just,
I was amazed that didn't end up as a cap, especially when I watched it back. I was like, "How?"
I heard him drop his tablet after he gave up capping. That's why I turned around and shot him. Other than that, he could have just stayed there and capped. I didn't, because I thought I had been so intent on like trying to stop them coming in from the south as you rotated. I didn't realize you died straight away. I thought you'd made it to objective, and then I checked my tablet. It was like, oh crap, how long's this been like? So I just chucked a nade and just started running.
Let's see. A couple questions here. Will Theta do another relaxing reading podcast? I don't know. I've thought about doing a reading series, but it's just a matter of time commitment right now. We'll see. I did it before, and it was one of my least popular videos. I'm not sure my audience really cares enough for me to make another one. Dazzler asks, how do we beat Error 404? That's the $1 million question in the league right now, isn't it? They're undefeated. They're going up against Ember this week. I see Lego saying that they're challenging them this week. I haven't checked the schedule. I don't know if that's official or not, but they're going to be, I mean, they are playing with the big dogs now. So it's just a matter of, I think after there's enough casts and people watch them play and get a sense of their patterns, maybe it'll be a little easier to break down. That's one of the things that happens when you're a new team, is that you just have a lot less visibility and people don't know how to prepare for you. Whereas if you are suddenly a very visible team, now everybody's watching you, everybody's coming up with strategies to beat you. And whether that helps or not and whether you can actually beat them is another thing. But I think we will see how resilient they are. I think they have earned their spot as an elite team at this point, and they're going to be a challenge for quite some time. In terms of actual strategy, I don't know. I need to see more play from them personally. Do you have any thoughts about that, James?
I think map choice is something I'd go for. I'd look at so they're on short range maps. Obviously, you got the quest side. They're a quest team, so be ready for that. It's not a negative thing. It's just the state. It's the game, way of the game at the moment. So short range maps, that's something to factor in. And then downfall at the moment, that's also something to factor in. Maps like Snow Peak might be better favored. And then and Shipyard, the more medium range and less obvious differences between. I think Shipyard's pretty much 1-to-1, and Snow Peak's more 1-to-1. Quarantine and Downfall at the moment, they're not super 1-to-1 between native and PCVR. And then short range maps, they're very good on short range. Something to be wary of. So what are the maps at the moment? Subway. Personally, I'll be looking at Subway, Shipyard, Snow Peak as map wise. Unless you have a particular map you're very good at. And then just play your game. Don't let it get in your head. But obviously, we lost. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, obviously, we need to come up. Well, actually, I need to stop saying we. Mayhem needs to come up with a plan playing them. I'm probably not going to be playing them for a while since I'm starting from the bronze level now. But yeah, I think all the top teams, anybody in the top 5, 10 needs to have a strategy for dealing with them because they're very good. They're very good. And they mentioned in their interview what their preparation process is like. They're practicing all the time. They're scrimming all the time. They have a dedicated footage person. Like they're for real. You know, they're there for a reason. So anybody that's going to face them needs to be ready for that. Yeah, I want to mention, since Lego is saying EU greater than NA, want to emphasize Dyslexic Dazzler's question here. Who won Button Cup? Lego won the Button Cup.
Who did win the Button Cup? Was it 1-1 or have we completely won it?
We've won.
Because there were a lot of I'm going to do it without looking at the forfeits because that's, forfeits are forfeits. So we've got actual matches. So Rome lost to Velocity. Peacekeepers beat Silent Purge, so that's 1 each. Unity won against Virtual Secret, so that's 2 to America. Mayhem beat Beginners, that's 3-1 to America. Dark Matter beat Supermind, that's 4-1. And Phantoms beat Blaze, so that's 4-2, with the one match not scheduled or played yet. So, yeah, we have won the Button Cup 4-2 with 2 forfeits in there, 1 going each way. So 5-3 being the official score.
And Lego keeps mentioning that he wants a nade challenge between you two, which I would personally love to see.
I don't really do nades on demand. I just do them in match because they're so situational dependent. You can see highlight reels, Lego. It's cool. I've got a few from this season. I can send them through if you want.
For review, to help improve your throws.
And then we can then do a cap speed review if you want, Lego.
Oh man, just hitting him right in the insecurities. Brutal.
Ooh.
Brutal. Ah, wow. Yeah, that's hitting right where the home is. Theta, please poke James in the eye for the audience. It is what the people want. All right, let's see if I can pull this off.
It's weird because it's the opposite way you think.
Yeah, exactly. My fingers are just doing crazy things. I'm trying to point. Okay, let's see. All right, get my fingers calibrated here. For some reason, it keeps doing peace, even though I'm only doing one. I'm going to lose tracking if I... Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even
My eye.
doing two fingers. I was just doing one, but I went so far away from my elite motion that it just was like, oh, we're going to do two instead. Here, I can even pick your nose a little bit. There we go. Yeah, get some boogies out. So there always has to be a little bit of absurdity with the avatar every time this happens. Yeah, Dazzler, I think the elite motion just knew. So well-designed device, I will say. But the downside is anytime, you guys probably saw in the previous stream, anytime I like move my hands away to type something or move anything with the keyboard, my hands would start like when I lose tracking with this thing, it just starts going all over the place. That finger is scurry. I know, yeah, sometimes the fingers like wag by themselves. I don't know if I can see. I can't really do it on demand, but sometimes the finger just starts like doing this on its own. The red handkerchief. What's wrong with the red handkerchief? A nice little flare, if I do say so myself. It's all black and white, and then boom, red. Throws you off. Yeah, it clipped. Yeah, I'm sure. Just like the one where James was like, trying to eat my head a little bit. I'm sure that one's gonna make the rounds. That's fine. It's fine.
Nom.
Just keep
spreading.
spreading.
Now we're at equal size.
Mm-hmm.
Harder to eat.
Oh, did you see that? My hand just shot across because it lost tracking. Oh, man.
That's my nipple, sir.
I need to see at least 15 pieces of Flare. Yes, I get that reference. That is a great movie. All right. Well, it has been a great time. Oh, and Lego gets hit with the Nightbot. Can't really end it any better than that. And 27 messages deleted by the moderator. Wow. You just got wiped out of the chat. Nice. But I do want to say on a more serious note, thank you, James, in particular, for being such a fantastic teammate and doing this with me all the times we did. Thanks, Defilade, being a fantastic captain. Thank you to everybody on Mayhem. I will never forget my time on Mayhem. It was truly just an honor and a treat to be on a team with you guys. And hopefully I can carry what I've learned with you guys into this next endeavor that I'm doing. But, yeah, I see you guys as brothers in arms in perpetuity.
You too, buddy. And it's really good to have someone like you bring another team into the league because it'll set a really good example for everyone. And I'm sure they're going to do really well, and we will meet up in the future.
I hope so. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to cut it off because we've been going for quite some time, and this guy needs to eat. Need to eat something. I haven't eaten anything for hours. So I'm going to cut it off for now. I'm going to try to do a little salute thing on my avatar. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see you next time.